One of your possible essay prompts is as follows. In his masterpiece titled On War, the great 19th century Prussian military theorist Karl von Clausewitz described war as, quote, politics by or with other means, end quote. The idea is that once diplomatic solutions have failed to achieve certain goals, nations often resort to waging war. Provide 3 detailed examples of European nations between 1660 and 1871 who resorted to warfare to accomplish goals that diplomatic solutions alone had failed to accomplish, as well as a short discussion of what the consequences of these wars were. Now, in the early 19th century, Karl von Clausewitz, a young officer in the Prussian army, watched with horror as the once proud Prussian army found itself humiliated by the seemingly invincible Napoleon Bonaparte. After Napoleon was finally defeated years later, Clausewitz was named director of the newly established Prussian War College, where he devoted himself to studying the Napoleonic Wars, hoping to further develop his understanding of the link between wars. He asked himself questions like, why do nations sometimes opt for war? What aims do governments typically have when waging wars, and how do they usually seek to obtain these goals? We could spend a whole semester studying Clausewitz, but as tempting as that sounds, to me at least, this is not a class on military theory. However, we do have an opportunity in this class to explore the link between war and politics. Your textbook is littered with examples of wars. Louis XIV's wars in the late 17th and early 18th centuries, such as the 9 Years' War and the War of the Spanish Succession, the 7 Years' War in the 1750s and 1760s that we in the United States typically call the French and Indian War, the Napoleonic Wars, or the wars that ultimately led to German unification in 1871. Your textbook makes clear in all of these cases that wars occurred as a result of one nation or another seeking to enforce its will, or the will of an alliance, against another. Clausewitz made this point clear in his writings, saying, the political object of war can be of 2 kinds, either to totally destroy the adversary, to eliminate his existence as a state, or else to prescribe peace terms to him. In other words, to make your adversary agree to peace on your terms, not theirs. So if you choose to answer this essay prompt, find a few wars that capture your interest and pay special attention to their causes and the objectives of those involved. For example, let's assume you choose to include the War of Spanish Succession, the Austro-Prussian War, and the Franco-Prussian War. You might want to ask yourself questions such as, what were Louis's opponents in the War of the Spanish Succession trying to accomplish in going to war against France? Or, why did Otto von Bismarck seek war against Austria and France in the 1860s and 1870s? In all of this, think of the 3 C's: causes, course, and consequences. What were the causes of this war that you're looking at? What course did this war take? In other words, how did it unfold? And what were the consequences of the war? Hopefully this brief overview will give you a good starting point to begin crafting your essay. Be sure to be as thorough as possible, incorporating examples from your textbook as you go along. Be sure that your examples are directly relevant and help move your argument along. And as always, please contact me if you have any questions about the best way to move forward.